Welcome to Muse Interviews with Shenna, and today we are diving into the inspiring journey of one incredible small business who is all about helping visionary entrepreneurs break barriers, multiply their income, and build purpose-driven businesses with freedom, flow, and impact. Joining us today is Adina, and she helps business owners like us make more money and impact. And today we'll learn how she started, the lessons she's learned along the way, and the exciting things she's got going on for this year and as she grows. Whether you're a fellow entrepreneur or just someone looking for inspiration, this conversation is for you. Let's get started. Welcome to the show, Adina. How are you today?
Hi, welcome, and thank you so much for having me.
I'm excited to dive into your story because this is something we've never done before. Actually, our coffee chat is after this one. So I've known Adina intimately outside of just this conversation and our side conversations in a group coaching container that we're both in, and she's seen me cry multiple times. I've seen her cry multiple times. But I'm excited to tell her to know more about her, and to just kind of share her story. So, what inspired you to start your coaching business, and what's the story behind its creation?
Let's see how short I can make this. And essentially, the short version of all of why I'm doing what I'm doing is when I was employed in corporate, I worked in IT for over 7 years, IT sales. What I've noticed is that I was very good at it, but I hated how I had to do it. And I never understood how my colleagues, my female and male colleagues, were accepting of it all, right? So we had like call sheets, we had to do like 40 calls a day. And I know that that's like for traditional sales, that's not a lot. There were
Oh
like
wow.
there were diehard people who are like, oh, you only do 40 calls a day, that's nothing. So we had to do minimum calls of 40 a day and then 2 hours talk time, right? And I kind of did half of that because I decided that I prefer to be efficient over this, but my bosses hated it. Like,
Mm.
it didn't matter how much of my target I would achieve. They were just like, Adina, you're not hitting your core numbers. And I'm like, but I have the numbers. I'm making my revenue. Why does it matter? Well, that's just not how we do things. And you do this for 7 years or more. And all of a sudden, I look at it and I'm like, this feels soulless. Like,
Mm.
why do I have to listen to this? Why is the result that I'm getting not more important than how I'm doing it?
Right.
Right. And I saw over time that a lot of my colleagues felt the same way, but they just kept saying, oh, well, that's just how it is. And I'm like, well, no, no, let's not make it how it is. Oh, well, we just have to accept our lot in life. And I'm like, well, what's the progression? Oh, well, we just have to accept that. I'm like, we don't have to accept shit. And so I got
Mm.
really frustrated with the fact that I was put on personal improvement plans or was chastised for the fact that I technically did a good job, but my reward for overachieving, which I did most of the time, I think only 2 out of however many quarters I did in the company, I didn't hit, and that wasn't even my fault. That was an invoicing problem,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
2 out of these quarters I didn't overachieve, and my reward for hard work was more hard work, and I'm like, that's wrong.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so this is kind of how I got into what it is that I'm doing, because I'm like, well, I'm very good at sales
Mm-hmm.
and I don't do it the way that we learned it. We used to, in had so many sales trainings, the amount of corporate teachers that I had. And I remember like the tipping point for me was a sales trainer saying no means yes. And I'm like, do you not see how that's problematic?
Right.
I'm like, no. But
No.
no, like no means no. Like no is a full sentence, and no one questioned that was problematic. There were people around me who are like, "Yeah, that makes so much sense." No means yes, and I'm like, and I was sitting there, and I just couldn't understand how people were agreeing with this. Anyway, long story short, after a while, when I started getting into it, I started to realize that I am really good at understanding human behavior,
Mm-hmm.
and I understand how there isn't a one size fits all to what we're doing. That the problem, and this is sort of like 5, 6 years later, that as we're in entrepreneurship and as we're growing our businesses, what I see a lot of the time is very similar to what I saw in corporate. It's this, here's a framework, here's what you need to follow, and then you will be successful. Go to the 5 a.m. club and you'll be successful. If you go and have cold showers in the morning, that's the thing that'll make you successful. And I'm being very like arbitrary on purpose here, but it's like there's always someone who has like a 3-step formula. There's always someone who has a system that you can follow and just follow the system. I'm like, if a system was the thing that's the tipping point, there would be one person we'd all be following the system from.
Mm-hmm.
Most of us would be jobless, because if that system was guaranteed to work, well, then why aren't we all doing that same system?
Mm-hmm.
So evidently it's not the system that's the problem. It's our behavior, and it's, as a human being, the fact that we all have a unique perception and unique perspective, a unique way of doing things, and we understand that biologically we are all different and therefore have a unique makeup, but we don't understand that our behavior requires the same baseline. It's like, okay, it might work for you to do 100 calls a day to be successful in your business, but what if you're a single mom who doesn't have the time to do 100 calls a day? What do you just tell the single mom, well, tough shit?
Mm-hmm.
No, like there is a way for everyone to see success and fulfillment, and it's not a, what, here you just do this one rigid thing. And that's kind of how I got started into it all.
Wow, that's crazy. That's a lot of calls, by the way.
It
Because
was
I have.
I cheated. So
Uh-huh.
because I was responsible for the German region, my bosses couldn't understand what I was saying.
Ah.
So I kept calling my mom.
How many calls did she get? Did she get 10?
Well, no, I got to the 40 calls essentially, but basically I just I'm like, Mom, can I like call you every 10 minutes? So I called like this, or I called my old phone, or any voicemail or whatever, or I called the yellow pages. Basically, I just did something because I got my work done in 4 hours. But
Uh-huh.
when I asked, hey, can I go home? My boss was like, well, no, you just need to do more work. And I'm like, but I'm done. Yeah, but your colleagues aren't. And I'm like, that's not
So,
my problem.
right.
And
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
anyway, so
Wow.
I cheated.
Whatever works, right? Was there a defining moment that, well, you talked about the whole no is a yes thing, but was there a defining moment when you said, all right, I'm done with 40 calls a day. I am now going, I am now going to build my own coaching practice.
There wasn't really one defining moment. It was a compounding thing, because um and I don't exactly, whenever the 4 hour work week from Tim Ferriss came out
Mm-hmm.
is when I first realized that I was even able to build my own business. I didn't even consider this, because up
Mm-hmm.
until then all I knew was, well, I have to work for someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Never considered that, hang on a minute, I can actually build something myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so after a while, there was this trial and error phase where I tried to build a ton of businesses and that didn't work. And so I was like, I stumbled upon a Marie Forleo video on my last resort while I was crying in my bedroom, and it's just, and she talks about coaching, and I didn't even know what coaching was, and I'm like, this is a thing. I've been doing this my entire life. I've been always been very good at this. And so if we're talking about a defining moment of when did I build it, that's when I started to know that this is what I wanted to pursue, because I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life.
Right. Mm-hmm.
No idea.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I was growing, I started to niche a lot more. So first I started off with life coaching. Then I realized that I'm really good at sales. So then I did sales coaching. Before that, I did coaching for people who wanted to make their side hustle their main gig and whatever. And eventually now I went into leadership and business growth.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's what a journey already has it been, huh? What are some of your proudest moments so far as a business owner and a coach?
There are quite a few, actually. I mean, one of the most recent ones is client wins always go into it, but it's especially when I have clients, and that was one of my recent clients who like we've been skirting around each other for a little bit, and I knew that I really wanted to help her, but she wasn't ready, and it's okay that she wasn't, and she was hesitant. And the minute she signed up with me, well, not the minute, but obviously like a week or two later, she took this leap of faith, and she's just like, why the fuck did I wait so long?
Mm-hmm.
And that is such a proud moment, because all of a sudden she went from this, like, she got very far by herself,
Mm-hmm.
but then all of a sudden she went even further. So that's something that I'm really proud of, and the fact that I get to curate my day in the
Mm-hmm.
way that I'm really proud of. I get to help a lot of people who have a big vision, people who are activists, people who care about humanity. I'm working with people who want to make some change in the world. So I'm really proud of the fact that I get to work with people who really have like these big ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Because evidently what we're currently seeing in the world is we need more empathetic and self-empowered leaders.
Amen. And I think now more than ever, right?
Yeah.
Now more than ever, we need better business owners, responsible business owners, all that good stuff, right? That are just, make a positive impact.
Oh yeah.
Because now we're feeling the negative impact, right? So it's now like we have to outgrow them. We have to.
Well, not just outgrow them, but we're currently seeing what a disempowered leadership does to the world.
Mm-hmm.
We're not just seeing in the news, haha, this person made a stupid mistake and made a stupid decision. It's just like, we're
Right.
all now fucking impacted.
Yep.
And it's like, well, what's it going to be? Are we just going to look at the news and we're going to be appalled by the fact? Are we actually going to do something about it?
Yes, yes. And I love that, for us, owning a business, growing a business is not just all about money. It's not just, it's impact and also a way of activism,
Hell yeah.
right? Right? I
Hell
love
yeah.
that. I love that so much. Um, so what do your clients rave about most about you when they work with you?
The initial thing is definitely how easy it does get to be to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's one of the things that I always tell my clients. I'm like, one of my favorite beliefs to work on, limiting beliefs to work on, is when you start thinking, no shit, this is too easy to be true. It can't be that easy.
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell them, I'm like, you get to a point where you'll make money so easily, and where clients, like your ideal clients, come so easily that you're gonna look at me and you're gonna be like, Adina, like when's it gonna all fall apart? And it's my favorite thing. And then when they come back to me like a month later and they're like, you were right. And I'm like, I mean, yes.
I'm right.
Right? And it's the like, I told you so, but in not like in a smarmy way, but in a way of just like, okay, you see, like it's possible. Making the money isn't actually the hard part, which a lot of the people believe. It's building your identity and your belief set that impacts your behavior in a way that you actually create from that space.
Wow. That's very, very powerful. What would be your best advice for, for people who are um they're already making the money, but and they know that they can impact more, make more, but there's something that's holding them back. Like what would be their first step?
The first step is to get clarity around where that behavior comes from. I have a free PDF that literally
Yes.
explains this.
Mm-hmm.
I can always send the link to that. Very happy to do so. But basically, it's the first step is, okay, well, if you are stuck and you keep hitting the roadblock and you don't know why, no matter how many like experts you hire or no matter what systems you put in or whatever it is that you're doing, because you're smart, there is something that you want to find out. Not so much why am I holding myself back, but why is it like what could possibly be the reason that could be good about staying where you are? That's a very different question, but a very important question, because it's very easy for us to go like, well, there's no reason for me to not grow. It's logically, it makes a lot of sense. But a lot of it is fear-based. A lot of it is very subconscious that we're not even aware of. So when we start to analyze that clarity piece of like, okay, well, if there is any reason that I could come up with that could possibly be good, like that could possibly keep me safe by not growing and not going there, what would that be? Answer that question and you're already way ahead of the curve.
That's a powerful question. That's a question you sit with all day.
Well, not even all day. If you allow yourself to really go there, the first instinct is to be like, well, nothing could be good about that because growing, right? The logical brain wants to go in, but it's not the logical brain that makes the decision. So we need to activate the imagination. It's just like, okay, well, we know there would be no logical reason not to grow, but if there anything could be good about staying the same, what might it be? And then after a while, you sit still for a bit and you're like, well, I guess if I grow, like taxes are a really great thing. I guess if I earn more money, then that means I spend more taxes. That's actually quite a popular one for a lot of women, especially. They're like, well, if I make more money, then I'm in the new tax bracket and then I have to do this. Or for women also tends to be if they have a partner. Recently, that's a comment that came up a lot is where their partner feels emasculated and then their relationship breaks apart.
Mhm.
Right? And so there's so many reasons like, okay, well, that's big. So let's unpack that.
Wow. Wow. A lot of good stuff there and a lot of things to think about right there. So maybe I'll definitely post yeah, I'll definitely post some of these questions in the show notes. Adina, if you give me the link to your resource, I'll definitely also add that in the show notes. What how else can we get clarity outside of this PDF?
I'm offering a free clarity call if you wanted to talk to me directly. It's a half hour where I literally help you do that exact same thing, and then you walk away with clarity and how to fix what it is that your problem is. So I'm very happy to send that link over as well. And yeah, I think those are like really two good ways to start because doing more is rarely the like a lot of people who are entrepreneurs. I don't know one entrepreneur who is self-made and whether that they consider themselves successful or not. I don't know anyone who owns their own business who isn't smart, right? Because you have to have a certain amount of intelligence to build your own business. You have to find solutions, and problem solving isn't your problem in that
Mhm.
case, right? So it's actually something internally that holds you back, and that's really hard to do by yourself because if the only voice of reason you have to speak to is in the privacy of your own mind, well, if you're in a bad mood, you believe it, and if you're in a good mood, you believe it. And it's just like, if I'm currently feeling terrible and like I'm not good enough and like I can't do anything and like I can never grow, well, guess what? I'm right.
Mm-hmm. Yep, yep. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. A lot of good stuff right there too. Well, last question. What's one thing you wish you'd known when you started?
God, there are so many things. One is definitely progress over perfection. The other thing is that there is a certain amount of loneliness, I think, that I never anticipated
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to building a business. And I think it's part of just being in the arena is when you start building your own business or growing your own business, you grow to a point where you start losing some of the friends and family that you have had at that time, but you're not yet knowing enough or build enough space to invite the people that are like you. And so you're kind of in this limbo where it does get a bit lonely. And I think it's very easy to think that this is it and it's not.
Mm-hmm.
It gets better.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I agree. I love that. Thank you so much, Adina, for sharing your story, your insights. A lot of really good questions. It's been such a pleasure getting to know you, your work, and just be kind of have a front row seat in what you're doing. It's really amazing. It's really encouraging. And for our listeners who'd love to learn more, where's the best place to connect with you?
Instagram, for sure. I'm very active on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook if you want to follow me there. But Instagram, my website, those are the two main ways where I'm active. So at adinakroll.com and you'll see loads of tips. You'll see my life. And yeah, my website if you want to email me directly.
Sounds good. And I'll add everything in the show notes for you guys, so you can, just click and follow her on Instagram. Drop her Facebook as well if you're more Facebook like me. Thank you again for being part of Muse Interviews with Shenz. And to our listeners, here's what I ask you guys to do, outside of taking action. First, book a call And in between now and that time, think about these questions that Adina had asked, right? So that way, when you get on the call with her, you'll have something to grapple with, and where she can, share her insights and her wisdom. Because the problem is that, and why we need coaching is that we are trying to read the label from the inside. And we obviously can't, right? Adina was just alluding to this, like you believe this when you're in a good mood, you believe this when you're in a bad mood, because we are in the inside, and we need someone to read the label from the outside, and so those are my action steps for you guys. Book a call first, and in between that time, think about the questions that she asked us. Thank you so much, Adina. And to our listeners, yeah, definitely book a call. And I think I also recommend that you do that right away, because I know that she could get busy, and you never know how long these calls are going to be free. So take advantage, right? Thank you so much, Adina, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.